ലൈവ് മിസ് ലൈവ് ആട്ടോ.
Okay. Gladys?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, start.
Okay, ma'am. Good evening and a warm welcome to all. I'm Gladys Anna Soni from First Year Psychology, welcoming you all to the fourth session of Psy Hub, the international webinar series organized by the Postgraduate Department of Psychology and Internal Quality Assurance Cell of Christ Jyoti College of Management and Technology. Just a little instructions before we get started. Please mute yourself to keep the quality of sound functional during the meeting. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them down into the chat box, which will be clarified during the question and answer session. The feedback form will be shared in the chat window. These certificates will be provided after the submission of the feedback form. So now, without further ado, we'll move on to the session. Prayer should not be regarded as a duty which must be performed, but rather as a privilege to be enjoyed, a rare delight that is always revealing some new beauty. Now I call upon Sandra Saji from First Year Psychology for the prayer song. Thank you, Sandra. Now I invite Ms. Kripadina Matthews, Assistant Professor of the Department of Psychology, to deliver the welcome speech.
Good evening, everyone. It's my pleasure to welcome you all to the fourth session of the National Webinar Series organized by Postgraduate Department of Psychology in association with Internal Quality Assurance Cell of Christ Jyoti College and Management and Technology. On the behalf of Department of Psychology, I would like to take this opportunity to extend a warm welcome to our chief guest and speaker of the day, Mr. Sunny Joseph, clinical and neuropsychologist from Bangalore. Next, I would like to welcome our beloved principal, Reverend Father Joshi Chiramkuril CMI, who has enlightened our minds right from the start of this webinar series. A hearty welcome to Dr. Varghese Arni, the Vice Principal and Head of the Commerce Department, Christ Jyoti College. Next, I would like to express a warm welcome to IQAC coordinators, Dr. Sushil Joseph and Dr. Anu Anthony, for providing us with such a platform for us. Next, I would like to welcome our dearest HOD, Dr. Angel Thomas, who is the backbone in guiding and motivating us in all ways with full enthusiasm. Last but not least, my sincere welcome to the all department heads, teaching faculties and all participants watching us. Hope this session will be fruitful to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. May I now request Vasila Taha from First Year Psychology to introduce our speaker, Mr. Sunny Joseph.
Good evening, one and all present here. It's my great pleasure to introduce Mr. Sunny Joseph, our guest speaker for the fourth session of the International Webinar Series, Psy Hub. Mr. Sunny Joseph is a freelance psychologist. He had completed his undergraduation from Mahatma Gandhi University and his post-graduation from Bangalore University. He did MPhil in Clinical Psychology from the National Institute of Mental Health and Neurosciences, Bangalore. He had previously worked with the Department of Neurology, Manipal Hospital, Bangalore, Directorate of Forensic Sciences, Mumbai, and Greenwood High School, Bangalore. He is also the resource head at Launchpad Consulting India and a member of Board of Studies at Jain University, Bangalore. He is a member of the Indian Association of Clinical Psychologists, IACP, Cognitive Neuroscience Society of India, CNSI, and International Association of Holistic Psychology, IAHP. He was a recipient of the Best Paper Award from Cognitive Neuroscience Society of India in 2016 and an invited speaker at a workshop organized by the British Psychological Society. He conducted more than 200 training programs and workshops, collaborated with a large number of universities, hospitals, corporate organizations, and presented more than 25 research papers in national and international conferences. I bid a very warm welcome to Mr. Sunny Joseph for joining us today to be a part of this webinar. We are honored to have you with us, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Vasila. Now I invite Mr. Sunny Joseph to begin the session on the topic, Build Yourself as a Branded Psychologist. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. A very warm good evening. I'm really excited to be here talking to all of you on building yourself as a branded psychologist. I'm just assuming my voice is audible to everyone. A couple of years back, to be specific, almost 18 years ago, after I completed my MPhil from National Institute of Mental Health and Neurosciences, I went for an interview in Manipal Hospital, Bangalore. And I was interviewed by a very famous psychiatrist, though this interview was a very informal, very casual one. And I was asked a couple of questions, though I was expecting a psychiatrist to ask me questions on the subject, on psychology, various disorders, various treatment modalities. To my surprise, the kind of questions I was asked were very, very different. I was asked, how much income do I believe I will be in a position to generate for the hospital? I was also asked, how would I promote myself as a clinical psychologist, and how would I position myself within the organization as well as outside the organization, outside the hospital. To be frank, these questions did not really make much sense to me. As a fresher, how do I know how much income I would generate for the hospital? I didn't know how do I justify the salary I would receive. I didn't understand, definitely I didn't understand how do I position myself, how do I promote myself as a psychologist. However, over time, over the last 18 years, especially after 5-6 years of my presence in the same hospital, I realized those questions were very, very critical. And all that I did over the last 15-20 years had a lot to do with trying to answer those questions. So today when I speak to you on branding or building a brand for yourself as a psychologist, so this has a lot to do with whatever I have learned, especially over the last few years. So I'm sure some of you must be wondering, what has branding to do with a psychologist? In my understanding, yes, it has a lot to do with, branding has a lot to do with your practice, your career, your profession within psychology. So brand is a term that we are all very much familiar with. We come across the term brand almost every time we think of making a purchase. Let it be buying a product or getting a service. I'm sure we all look forward to buying the best product or getting the best service done when your TV or laptop or your fridge needs to be repaired, or you bought a product from Amazon. You would expect the Amazon or the retailer that you bought the product from provide you with the right service. When you go to the market to buy a mobile phone, I'm sure you will look for the best brand or a reputed brand. So every time you make a purchase, you think of, the term crosses your mind. Now, this is on one side. On the other side, there is a very important question I would like to ask you. Within psychology, or forget about psychology, in your career, what is your goal? Do you have a particular specific aim that you have set for your life, especially in your career? And how are you going to achieve that goal or those goals as a psychologist? Now, this is exactly what I have to talk to you all about. How do we set a career goal? And how do we brand ourselves so that we are able to achieve the goal that we are setting for ourselves? I want you to recognize this logo. I'm sure, if possible, you can just in the chat box put in your response. What is this logo? What brand does it represent? If you have put down your answer as Nike, you are right. I have a couple more. What about this? And if you remember, if this logo reminds you of Olympics, you are right. Yes, Olympics. Now, what about this? Is your answer Twitter? You are right. And what about this? Yes, Amazon. Perfect. And thus, no confusion. It's straightforward. The answer is straightforward. Google. What about this? I'm sure right from our childhood, we have always looked at this logo right in front of the car. It stands out. Benz. Yes, thank you for those who are putting down your answers. And what about this? It's not a complete image. Still, we recognize it very well. Yes, Apple. Now, what is so special about these logos? What is so special? What does these logos represent? What does it tell you? Yes, logos do represent a brand. I'm sure it's much more. It does talk about credibility, trustworthiness, popularity, quality, good product, good service, longevity of the product. Yes, just a logo represents a brand as well as a lot more about the company, about whatever the company stands for. Now, what is interesting is I'm sure none of us have seen the company Google. We haven't seen Amazon, but we, on a daily basis, almost every hour, we come across something related to Google or Amazon. The reach of these products, these brands have gone beyond certain boundaries we have set or we have had in our head. That is the reach of some of these brands. I'm sure you relate to what I'm talking about. Now, we have Amazon, Benz, BMW, and of course, Apple. Now, I want you to focus on certain taglines or the motto or certain core principles that they carry. Amazon says, work hard, have fun, and make history. And you know what amazing work Amazon has done over the last couple of years. Today, if you order for a pulse oximeter in 2 days' time, and possibly in 24 hours' time, you will have a pulse oximeter, even if you are in a village in Kerala. As I said, we have not seen the company, we have not seen any employees of the company directly. We have only seen certain representatives, some delivery boys. You are ready to spend that 20,000 rupees for a phone because you trust this brand. You know it will deliver the phone at your doorstep. Even when you don't pay online, there's something called COD, cash on delivery. You know the company will send you that branded mobile phone for you at your doorstep. Exactly how their tagline reads. Then we have Benz, the best or nothing, the driver's car. Those who have driven some of those premium cars would agree with the fact that this particular car represent luxury. However, if you look at BMW, this is the ultimate driving machine. When you compare Benz with BMW, you will realize the difference, especially in driving. The owner of the Benz car would prefer sitting at the back seat and enjoy the drive. Whereas someone who owns BMW would want to drive it because this is, as the company says, this is the ultimate driving machine. When it comes to Apple, it says think different. And one of their core principles says, we build products we believe in. And those who use Apple will not have an option but agreeing to it because they stand by it. What does this mean? They have built a brand. They have, given it a lot of visibility with some amazing logos, and they have taglines that exactly represent. They just represent whatever they stand for. They built a brand, and they came up with certain principles, and they've just realized it. They've just fulfilled whatever they commit to people. Now, this is exactly what is possible with a brand. when you create a brand and you have a brand identity, it tells people who you are, what do you do, why do you do whatever you do, and how you do it. I want you to go back to your career goal. If your career goal says be a successful psychologist, sports psychologist, educational psychologist, child psychologist, counseling psychologist, business psychologist, if that's what your goal is, by creating a brand, you define it, and your brand will tell people, your customers, people who seek your service, know whatever you offer, whatever you are capable of doing, the way you deliver your service. At least when you create a brand, you will put in your best efforts to make it happen, make it go beyond boundaries, reach out to people so that your brand create a legacy. Now, how do we do this? How do we really do this? If you have success in your career as your goal, let me ask you, do we really have a shortcut to success? We all want to be successful in life, or at least in our career. In fact, we do a lot to be a professional success. We choose a career, we choose a course, we put in so much of effort, we work hard, we earn good marks, we study further, and we do a lot of things just to ensure we have a successful career. The question is, do we have a shortcut to success? What are your answers? Okay, yes. When I was a child, I was clearly told by the society, people around, there is no shortcut to success. You work hard. Today, I disagree. I have a slightly different view. The view is very different. I believe there is a shortcut. This is my view. This is not something that is scientifically proven. My view says, identify someone or a couple of people who are successful. Do exactly what they have done in their life, and your chances of becoming successful is very high. It's a shortcut. Based on research, we have enough evidence to show when you do this, when you do this, when you do this, you increase the chances of becoming a successful person in your life, or at least in your career. So if you want to be successful in your career, follow certain shortcuts. Branding yourself is one of the shortest cuts. So as George Bernard Shaw says, you don't find your life success, you create it. You don't find your life story, you create it, and it is possible. Branding yourself is one of the ways you do this. You create a story, you become successful by following certain interesting steps to achieve your goal. Now, why do we create a personal brand? What is the need for a brand? Why do we do this? I have a couple of reasons. These are my reasons. This is what I have understood. Psychology is all about reaching out to people. We look for people who are in need. who need help. You reach out to people so that you can study them, study their behavior with an intention to help them. You increase their happiness. You work on building, improving their well-being, reduce their distress, improve their relationships, and even their performance, because you have an expertise in doing this. So being a psychologist, we are by default expected to reach out to people. Branding helps you doing that. Now, as a psychologist, you compare your profession with a really large number of other professions or professionals. You will realize psychology is a subject in which your personal skills and qualities do matter. I'm sure you all agree to this. I'm not saying psychology is the only profession in which personal skills and qualities matter, but psychology is one of those leading professions in which psychologists' qualities and skills do matter. Branding goes very well with this particular aspect. In fact, your personal skills and qualities will help you brand yourself better compared to most other professionals. You think about IT professionals. Think about those who, let us say, do research, clinical research, or someone with accounting background. You are at a better, you carry a better chance to brand yourself because of the personal qualities and skills. Now, not many people have made it to the top as psychologists. Unfortunately, if you look at the history of psychology, there are those who do psychology would realize there are people like Sigmund Freud to Adler to Carl Rogers to Aaron Beck. There are a really large number of people. Unfortunately, if you ask a non-psychologist to name a couple of psychologists, unfortunately, they will not be in a position to do it. This is not the case with other fields. There will always be a couple of mathematicians, physicians, engineers, medical professionals who have gone beyond boundaries. Gone beyond boundaries. You would even find poets, writers, authors who have gone beyond boundaries. Not many psychologists, in spite of the fact that our profession depends a lot on the personal qualities. In my view, this is my personal view, this is mainly because of the kind of training we have received, the kind of academic focus the psychology as a profession had. We have not received much input on building these personal qualities and skills. And it is high time for us to focus on branding, building personal skills and qualities. I request all those teachers, academic faculty, to note this point. This is just a request. Now, this has been my personal observation. Compared to professionals from social work or management, they look smarter. They really look, this is my personal view, to psychologists. Now, in social work and in management, they do handle certain psychological concepts and principles. Interestingly, because of the focus, because of The practical aspects, uh, you know, they give a lot of importance to the practical aspects of those principles and concepts. They are able to handle them very well, very easily. We are more theoretical, academic oriented. If we really have to make a difference, I do not mean bringing down the scope of social work or management, people with BBA or MBA. That's not my intention. I believe we do have enough scope for every profession. There is a space in this world, in the job market. I'm only talking about how psychologists do require to build on the smartness. Finally, but this is one of the most important aspects. 18 years back, when I was asked certain questions on the income that I would generate, the way I would promote, the way I would position myself as a psychologist among medical and other non-medical professionals, I didn't understand. Today I understand. There is a very clear mismatch between what employers look for in a psychologist and what we are able to offer. There is a dramatic mismatch. If we are unable to deliver what our employers expect, it's going to hurt a lot. Our profession is going to, get the beating. This is where the advantage of social work students and management students stand. These are my reasons why I believe as psychologists we need to build on our brand, personal brand, or a professional brand. If you are not convinced, there's something more I would like to tell you all. You are already a brand. Whether you like it or not, there's already a brand that you have created with your presence in the public. This is by default. The way you talk, the way you interact, the way you conduct, the way you display your knowledge, the way you build your relationship, all communicate a lot about you as a brand. Now it is your choice whether you go by your default brand or you consciously make an effort to design it, to create it, to make it better. And this is exactly what I would recommend you do. Now, how do we go about branding ourselves? As psychologists, what do we really do? Is there a shortcut? As I said, yes, there is a shortcut. Whatever I'm going to talk to you all about are certain ways we can brand ourselves. We can build a brand for ourselves. I'm going to divide this into a couple of groups. So there are certain changes we need to make at a personal level, at a social level, at a technical level. That means learning, or let us say skill development level. Finally, at a tactical level, we need to come up with certain strategy, build a brand for ourselves. Let us see what are they. Now, at a personal level, what changes can we make to build ourselves a brand, to make ourselves a brand? And why do we do that at a personal level? How you position yourself in your mind is how you position yourself as a brand in others' mind. If you are not convinced about your skills, your knowledge, your capabilities, there's no way people around will be convinced of what you can offer them. So the first thing that we need to do is to create it in your head. This is going to be a very conscious process. So what do we do? Let's start with identifying your career goal. Let it be very specific, just like the way a cricketer, let us say a young boy, thinks, I want to become a cricketer. That's not enough. The young boy has to think, I'm going to represent, I want to represent Kerala state as a cricketer. I want to be a part of Indian team, flying the tricolors at Lords, at the World Cup. As a psychology student, I want you to have something very specific in your head. I want to become a child psychologist, providing my services to children with disabilities. This is a very specific one. You can go further. You can go further. You can say, I want to become a child psychologist, providing my services to children with disability, and I would like to, do my research on the neuroscience aspects of mental retardation, or let us say ADHD or autism. You can go further. You can decide to work on the concept of theory of mind among children with autism. Recently, I've been working on a project. This project works on identifying what exactly happens in my brain, in our brain, when we make movements. If I need to make a movement, a specific movement, what exactly happens in my brain? This is very specific. To be more specific, I was curious to understand what are the error correction mechanisms and conflict resolution mechanisms in the brain. What? Yes. When I make a movement, when I plan a movement, how does my brain keep a track of the movement and see, based on the initial plan, if I have executed the movements exactly? Or when I make a mistake, what happens in my brain in order to correct my movement? This is very specific. Similarly, when you set your career goal, be very specific. This is very important if you are serious about building a brand for yourself. Because everything else that you do for branding and for promotion, this is extremely important. It is going to be, dependent on this. Now, let me go on to the next. The next one is recognizing your unique value. as a psychology student, as a psychologist, what is your winning edge? In what way are you different from people around? There are many psychologists around. There are many psychology students in your class. In what way are you different? What are your unique skills? What are you good at? And in what way those specific unique skills are going to contribute to the ultimate goal that you have in your career. Suppose you want to be a trainer. As a psychologist, you want to be a trainer. As you know, for a trainer, communication skills are extremely important. If you are a good communicator, this is going to contribute dramatically to your goal. Suppose you are not a good communicator or a natural communicator, you are not an attractive communicator. This is identifying that you are not good at it is going to help you, because you would know this is what you need to work on, because your goal is to become a successful psychological trainer. So you need to recognize what are you good at. Keep in mind this, as I said, keep in mind the goal that you have. So recognize your unique value. Let me move on. I hope you will make a note of the questions that you would like to ask me later, once my presentation is over. Let us move on. Pay attention to the details. What? Yes, the way you dress, the way you talk, your body language, the way you relate to people. If you have your career goal in your head and you have identified your unique value, unique skills, and you are serious about building yourself as a brand, start paying attention to all that you do as a psychologist. The email that you draft, the message that you send to your colleague, your teacher, your classmate, because all these are going to represent you as a brand. These are all going to contribute to the brand that you are going to create or that you have already created. Update your resume. And when you start preparing your resume, check if your resume matches with your goal or whatever image you want to create. If there is a mismatch, work on it. If your resume is not up to the image that you are trying to create, find out what is missing in it. So if you feel you lack certain skills in a specific area that you want to become an expert in, do some certificate programs, certificate courses. Enroll yourself in some additional training programs. Read some specialized books in the area that you want to become a specialist in. Talk to people who you believe are experts in that field already, so that you will build on your, the certain strengths in your resume. So this is what you need to do at a personal level. So you identify your career goal, recognize your personal skills, advantages, pay attention to all that you do as a student, as a professional. Keep doing this, keep updating your resume, CV. Now at a social level, there are certain things that you need to do, because if you don't build a brand, If you don't present yourself as a brand, you will be among the crowd, one among the crowd. You will just be a consumer. Now, let me ask you a question. I want to buy a phone. I want to buy a phone. I'm planning to buy Redmi, the latest Redmi phone. At the same time, I would like to know if there are some alternatives. Can you suggest an alternative for the Redmi phone, please? Can you put it down in the chat box? Put it down in the chat box. Okay. Okay. Yes. I was talking to a couple of people that I'm planning to buy a Redmi phone, and I asked them if they can suggest me an alternative. Many people told me I should go for Oppo, Vivo, OnePlus, Samsung. Now let me ask you another question. I'm planning to buy an iPhone. Can you tell me an alternative? I'm sure some of you what? Alternative for iPhone? Impossible. That's true, because there's no comparison. iPhone stands out. iPhone is not in the league of Oppo or Vivo or OnePlus or Redmi or Samsung. It stands out. It's beyond the limit. There's no comparison. When you are mediocre, there will be competitors. You will have to struggle for your existence. You will find it difficult to survive. You will have to get into bargaining when it comes to salary. But when you go above the cut, hey, this is what I want. I'm sorry, I can't join. This is my standard, because I have it in me, the skills that you are looking for, the qualities that you believe your employee has to have. I have it. I'm not for sale, not for that amount, not for this particular position, because I have experience. I worked with this particular group of people that you work with. I have expertise, I have experience, I'm good at it. Look at the certificate. Look at the number of courses that I have done. You are above the cut. You are above the cut. No negotiation. Therefore, make your presence really feel. Go social. What do we do? Now, identify your target audience. Identify your target audience. If you want to become a sports psychologist and you want to work with the young sports people who aspire to become successful in their respective game, sport, if that is your target audience, make sure you identify them first, because Singapore Airlines does not advertise in a local supermarket, hoarding, because they know their target group stay elsewhere. KLF, coconut oil, does not advertise possibly in some TV channels in the Europe, because coconut oil is not very popular in the Europe. They don't use it much. Unless you recognize, identify your target audience, there is no way you can promote, you can put in your message. There is no way you can inform people, you are so and so. I work with young sports people and I have expertise in motivating them, identifying their true potential. I have a couple of psychological tests that can identify attitude of sports people. I can identify, I have certain skills and expertise to identify the presence of anxiety among sports people, especially when they are about to compete. So you need to know, where do young sports people gather, so that you can go out there, you can tell them, hey, I am so and so, I know this, I know what you people go through, I know certain strategies to make you go to the next level. Identify your target audience. Become a social networker. You need to go all out. Address larger crowds. Be active in social media. This is very serious. I'm very serious. I'm not asking you to be, online all the time, watching new YouTube videos and keep changing your Facebook status. No. I'm asking you to be very specific, be very active socially, not necessarily restricting yourself in social media. I want you to be a part of a club or a community that discuss very serious issues the society faces, or a community meant for parents of children with disability, or a group of young entrepreneurs who will come up with a startup, or they will start their business in the next 5 years. Be a part of it. If you want to be a coach, a business coach, or if you want to be a trainer, psychological trainer, or if you want to work in the field of corporate psychology, identify your social target, be a part of it, have active involvement, participation. Find out how people see you. We have identified our own skills and qualities, but is that what other people think about you? A couple of years back, one of my best friends, who's a very famous trainer, who have really made it as a professional trainer, he called me up. He said, Sunny, I'm going to send you an email with a really large number of questions, rating scales. It's all about me. I want you to rate me as an individual, as a friend, as a professional trainer. I want you to tell me, what are my good qualities? What are my limitations? Because I would like to improve myself as a person and as a professional. This is an example of what we can do. Ask your teachers, ask your classmates, friends, family members. What are you known for? What are you good at? What is their perception of you as an individual, you as a brand, you as a psychologist? Find out. Finally, socially update your status. Whenever you do acquire a new skill, whenever you complete a course, whenever you read a book, a specialized book, after having interviewed an expert in the field, put it up, inform people that you're so and so, this is what you have recently done. Very important. Let them know the moment they think about your profession or the profession or professional services that you can provide, the first person they think of you should be you. Just like the way for us Colgate is paste. In our childhood days, in my childhood days, modern bread represented all the breads. Xerox represents all the photocopying machines because the brand becomes the product. Brand becomes whatever they stand for. I would love to be the neuropsychologist that people in my social network know. Not just the neuropsychologist, the best neuropsychologist. So all that I need to do, put up messages that tell them, see, I'm so and so, I can do this, I'm an expert in this. Over the last 20 years, I have seen more than 5,000 people with head injury, tumor, epilepsy, dementia, stroke. I recently came up with a case in which there was this young, 27-year-old person who met with an accident. He came with this problem, and this is how I dealt with him. When you know your field or your goal in your career, pick up examples, pick up something that you read, a video that you watched, share it, inform people, update them. Let me move on. Technical. What are those specifics required? I'm sure there are many of them. Why should there be certain skills that we acquire? If you know what kind of an image that you want to create, when you acquire skills and when you apply those skills on a daily basis, you make your stand very clear. Your presence, your existence becomes solid as a brand. We know what Virat Kohli stands for. He stands for a lot of qualities, which I believe he has built over the years. It could be dedication, hard work. We know his lifestyle, diet, and the kind of commitment he carries, the confidence he carries in the field. This is exactly what I'm talking about. As a psychologist, as a specialist, when you claim that you offer this kind of a service, it is your responsibility to build your skills that matches with their expectations, the expectations of people who take your service. Thank you. So what specifically are we going to do? Communicate. As a psychologist, communication is the critical most skill. It could be in writing, it could be in talking, oral communication. Express your ideas, crisp, clear, attractive. Let it go through their mind. Grab opportunities to talk. Voice your opinion. Ask questions. Clear your doubts. Share your ideas with your friends. Get into debate. Not quarrel. Get into discussions. Whenever there is an opportunity in a conference, present a paper, write an article, have a blog, write articles in newspapers. In your contact, there has to be a couple of journalists, people who publish books. Tell them that you can contribute an article. You have some amount of expertise in that particular field. Communicate. Go digital. Go digital, yes. If possible, have a website, a personal website. It does not cost much. Have a Facebook, not just an account. Have a Facebook page. Have a Facebook group. Gather people who are interested in the area that you want to represent, that you have expertise in. Exchange ideas. Go digital, as I said. Learn certain skills, digital skills. Make sure to learn operations of certain softwares to create, edit your own content. Make sure to have, as I said, a website, a YouTube channel, broadcast yourself, promote. You have ideas. You've read a lot of books. You've learned a lot in your classroom. You've gained a lot of knowledge from certain certificate programs, from certain books. Share it with people. People do look for authentic, genuine information. People thrive on knowledge. Share it. Interact. Build some good relationships. In business, it says your network is your net worth. Your net worth is equivalent to your social network. Today, you will promote yourself. After some time, you need to stop. People in your network, in your social network, will promote you because you have already become a brand. You are capable of providing best services. You have the right skill. So you don't need to promote yourself anymore. You can rest. Think of those videos that you forward because the video looks so stunning. It's so appealing. It's so attractive. You promote someone else or their brand because it looks appealing. What can you do to make yourself appealing for people around? You build your network. Let there be some genuine, good relationships. Nurture them. Not just establish, make sure to maintain them. Thank you so much for your attention. I hope I'm engaging enough. And the last one, reorganize. This is critical. When you have decided to achieve your goal, build yourself as a psychologist brand. No stopping, no halting. You go all out. You reorganize your strategy, reorganize your priority. There's no more laid back attitude. You don't rest because your goal looks so appealing. You're attracted by it. It's like a magnet. You run, you chase it because your desire to create your story, your desire to build your brand is so strong. Your priorities have changed. You don't sit idle. You don't binge watch movies on Netflix. You don't binge watch those YouTube videos. Or you don't do this all the time. All that you do makes sense because this is related to your goal. This is related to the brand that you want to create or you have already created. Reset your priorities. Finally, tactical. Let there be a strategy when you build your brand or when you go about promoting yourself as a brand. What strategy am I talking about? Why do we need a strategy? When you have set a goal, you know where you want to reach, but not necessarily the way you get there. The way you get there. Just like the way I said, branding is one of the best ways you reach your goal. But it has to follow certain strategy. As Pablo Picasso rightly says, there has to be a plan. What is that plan? What is that plan? The first one, identify your channel for promotion. Are you going to write articles after articles after articles in newspapers? Or are you going to have your YouTube channel talking about various psychological aspects? Or are you going to have certain promotional activities? Like there are people who travel from one end of the state to the other end carrying placards. So what is your strategy to promote yourself as a brand? Are there certain projects, awareness programs that you can have, conduct street plays to bring about awareness? Is that your strategy? Is your strategy to host a discussion on Clubhouse so that you attract a lot of people? So you give out this message that you have expertise in this field. What is your channel? Let people know what you offer. As I said repeatedly, you keep informing them what you offer. What are you good at? What is your expertise? What services you can provide? That has to be a strategy. Thirdly, update yourself on the current affairs. Whenever there is a problem, now those who want to position themselves as a forensic psychologist, the moment there is a crime that gets highlighted in the newspapers and channels, they would immediately talk about it in their Facebook. Or they will release a video talking about that crime and the psychological angle of that crime. Because my aim is to become a forensic psychologist. I tell the people, by picking up certain, happening, immediate, within the society, whatever happens, immediately you pick it up. You start talking about it. Raise your opinion. Pass on a comment. Whenever there is a discussion, talk about it. Finally, review your brand periodically. As I said, if you have decided to build a brand today, after 3 years, it's possible your mindset has changed. So you need to see how much you have deviated from the goal, how much your skills have gone away from the brand that you really want to create. So there has to be an alignment. Bring yourself back, or you change your brand image or the goal that you want to set. That's the final point that I wanted to share. Now, keep in mind, there's no way you can build a reputation for something that you will do after 10 years. Therefore, start with where you are. Start with what you know. Start with what you can do today. That's where you need to start from. Don't talk about anything that you want to do. Talk about what you do today, what you can do today. Finally, I'm sure not many psychologists, as a student, I could never, relate to business, entrepreneurship, self-promotion. It was a big embarrassment that I talk about myself a couple of years ago. Today I realize the value of it. At the same time, dear psychologists, dear students, dear fellow psychologists, please understand this is not about fog. Fog. The advertisement says India is full of fog. All that is happening in India is all about fog. When I talk about branding yourself, I'm not talking about creating fog. I'm talking about being genuine, creating something authentic. We are all capable of something worthy. There's something very genuine about what we can do. It's all about identifying it, recognizing what you are capable of doing. Forget about that person and this person. Be authentic. Talk about what you really care about. It is not your intention just to create a fake identity, a fake image. No, absolutely no. The brand that I'm talking about, the brand image that I'm talking about, is all about what you really are, genuinely. Thank you. I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for giving your valuable insights regarding the topic, build yourself as a branded psychologist. Now, let us move on to our question and answer session. I request all the participants to drop your queries related to the topic we have discussed in today's webinar. So, our first question, Soumya has asked, what particular attitude we need to have as a branded psychologist?
So, if you look at all that I've discussed, this has certain qualities by default. There is a belief in yourself. There is a belief in yourself. So self-belief and self-reliance. You are not dependent on many people around. Though you do have an advantage, you can always take the help of people around. However, as your goal is genuine, your desire is genuine, you're confident that you can do it. So self-belief, self-reliance, confidence, optimism, a positive outlook, an ability to reach out to people, do a little bit of social networking. I believe these are all qualities, as psychologists, we all need. Thank you.
So, next question by Revati. Once we become a branded one, some pride would arise. So, is that okay to keep such attitude once we become a branded psychologist?
This is a very, very important question. You are so right. It's very much possible that over time we become what other perceive what we are. This is a pitfall. So this is exactly why I repeatedly a couple of times said align, look within, see if your image, the brand image you created has an alignment with what you really have. And make sure to be in touch with people, taking feedback from people around. As I said, it's important how other people perceive us. So these two aspects will take care of it. And when you are in touch with people around, you know where do you stand professionally. So there are three things that I said. One, within you, keep checking if there is an alignment with the reality and the brand image you have created. One. Two, keep checking with people. It is important that we understand their perception of what we are or what we are as a brand. Three, if you keep yourself active in the professional circle, you will know where you stand. You will know you are not the only one that's growing. You are not the only brand that's available in the market. Thank you. Is everything all right? I'm sorry.
Sir, am I audible?
Gladys, you're muted your microphone. Can you just check?
Gladys, please unmute yourself and
Sir, am I audible?
you can please switch off your video so that your audio will be clear.
Sir, am I audible? Am I audible? Sir, am I audible? Sir, am I audible?
You're audible, but not, your voice is not stable.
Gladys?
Am I audible?
Yes, Gladys.
So next question is from Neha. Is that okay to fix a remuneration by ourselves once we become a branded psychologist?
So this will automatically happen. See, this job market, let me talk about whatever is happening now. As you understand, the number of psychologists have dramatically increased over time, especially in the last couple of years. I mean, just an example, if I give you, look at the number of colleges that offer psychology courses these days. So there are a really large number of people, pass out. So these days, one of the greatest difficulty the employers face is having someone with the right skills and quality. So you cannot fix the salary. However, if you have the right expertise, skills and qualities, you can always negotiate. You can always ask for, demand a little more, especially after you prove what you can offer. Yeah. So for you to demand a particular salary, you will have to wait for a couple of years, not as a fresher. Thank you. Gladys, I'm done.
Now, Eric will deliver a vote of thanks.
A life spent making mistakes is not only more honorable, but more useful than a life spent doing nothing. Good evening to one and all present here. On behalf of Krishnajyoti College of Management and Technology and the Psychology Department, I thank God Almighty for His blessings and allowing us to conduct a successful fourth session of the Psy Hub International Webinar. I'd like to thank our Honorable Principal, Reverend Father Joshi Chirankuri, CMI, for his constant support and guidance. I extend my sincere gratitude to our speaker, Mr. Sunny Joseph, clinical and neuropsychologist from Bangalore. Sir, I'm sure your words have been very informative to one and all present. Thank you for your time and effort for this webinar. Special thanks to our HOD, Dr. Angel Thomas, for giving us this wonderful opportunity. I'd like to thank Gladys for leading this webinar and Sandra for the beautiful song. I also thank Kripa Miss for her warm welcome speech and Vasila for the guest introduction. With deep sense of appreciation, I'd like to thank Jacob and Jitin from the technical team, Sujo sir for the brochure, and each and everyone present here. Without all of you, this webinar wouldn't be a success. Thank you.
Shall I take a minute? Thank you so much, the principals, the entire psychology department, faculty, Dr. Angel Thomas, and the team that made this happen. Thank you so much for your invite. As I said, I was really excited. I thank each and every participant. There are a couple of known faces. Thank you for coming. Thank you so much. Thank you for your valuable time.
Thank you, Sanuja. It was a very beautiful session and very much informative and a practical one. It will help each and everyone to enrich ourselves or upgrade ourselves as a branded one. Well done.
Thank you.
Okay, Jacob. Jacob, live, you can just.
Yes, miss. Live will stop here.
Okay, live stop. Sunny Jeta, live stop.